Hi, I'm Shristi Joshi. I've had lupus since 2010 and I'm here with you to share my story, living with lupus and my experiences so far. I was diagnosed with lupus in 2010, and when I was diagnosed, many people didn't know about it. So I make it a point to talk about lupus for several reasons. Like to spread awareness about the disease so that if you have any of the symptoms, you can go to the doctor, you can get yourself checked. And also, when I was first diagnosed and the doctor told me the news, I was overwhelmed and I was so scared and I was helpless. And with this Years Why series, I hope I can be the message of inspiration that I was looking for when I was first diagnosed. So for those who don't know what lupus is, it's an autoimmune disease that can affect any part of your body. So your immune system takes control of your entire body and starts attacking your healthy tissues. Systemic lupus, it means when it affects any organs of your body. For example, like your heart, your brain, your lungs, your kidney, your liver. My first symptoms of lupus was that once early morning I just woke up with my arms hurting really bad. The doctors just gave me some few painkillers and I was sent home. But then later I started getting fever, and I realized that every time I was going out in the sun I wasn't feeling well. Then slowly I started getting some rashes on my face. It took me many months and several blood tests and several examinations for the doctor to confirm that I had lupus. So in Nepal, most of the doctors that I had known, they had all told me that lupus is very dangerous and it doesn't have any cure. And it was very scary at that time because I was just 25 then, and I was asking myself, am I going to live? And another concern was, is it contagious? What if people around me get this disease from me? So that was very overwhelming. But luckily I had my family were my biggest strength of support and encouragement. And now I'm here in front of you, like I've gone through a complete transformation of that of weakness, of a lot of pain, of suffering, of so much of agony, to now to where I'm healthy and I'm like physically and mentally stable. And the social support systems have really helped me to come to this stage. Initially, it took me quite a long time to, talk about it because I was in complete denial. And I was Nepal is such a conservative and the people's mentality are still very old school. Like I heard many people telling me things like, बिचारा उ त भर्खरै बिहा गर्ने उमेरमा अब कसले उसलाई बिहा गर्छ, अनि they look at you with so much of pity. And my parents were also worried about that, like what's going to happen next now. So you're in that frame of mind. And for those reasons I suppressed my feelings, my emotion, my pain for a very long time. I mean, who would want to be near a person who is in pain all the time and who's whining and so I didn't talk about it at all. And for me, that was a sign of strength. But then later I felt that, all this was too much for me to take. I mean, how many things could I just be quiet about I couldn't suppress all these feelings for too long. I mean, I started with actually my daily journals. And then I slowly started writing articles and blogs and everything about lupus. And there I found so many of the people who had a similar condition like me, if not lupus, but they were going through the same kind of pain physically and also mentally. So with that, I could connect with so many other people, and I realized that I'm just not alone. So when you have that, you develop your own system of support that's always there for you and that's always there to listen to you. So these lupus awareness groups and platforms really helped me. So that I felt like, once you're able to share what you're going through, it really takes out baggage from your shoulder, and you feel like you don't need to be that strong person anymore, and you're able to, you can feel vulnerable at times. And especially when you open up to people, I think the most important thing for me is like the fear of the unknown goes away, because you realize that there are other people who have the same symptoms, and you're not afraid anymore. And when you're not afraid, that's a sign, that's a milestone to recovery itself. So although in lupus it affects your immune system, and there are so many things that are unique to it which other diseases don't have, but I feel that there are things that are so common with people who have other chronic disorders and illnesses. I mean, the most common factor, I think, you're silently suffering and you're going through so much of pain, which enables you to connect with other people who are going through something similar. And for my instance, what I realize is the most important is just like not just your physical capabilities, but that's a journey. You have to look within for anyone who's suffering these kind of problems, because if you're in denial, I think that itself aggravates what you go through mentally, and once you're not stable internally, I feel it comes out somewhere or the other in its own physical forms. If you have that resentment and that denial from within, I think you won't be able to go too far. You might take a few steps, but you come back again. So you really need to maintain the balance between your inner and your outer self, and that's what I think it's very important. Lupus has been a roller coaster ride for me. It came at a time when I was at my prime time, when I was really enjoying life, and I was totally not prepared for this. Visiting so many doctors, from rheumatologists to nephrologists to neurologists to dermatologists to immunologists to psychiatrists to counselors, can be so exhausting. So every morning you wake up and you look at your pill box and you have around 20 to 25 medicines to take every day. It's always a mixed feeling when it's time to take my medicines. I feel grateful that I'm alive despite all this condition, but at the same time it makes me question so many things about myself, about my future, about the possibilities of getting so many other diseases. I was recently sick, like 8 months last year, for almost about 8 months, and I think so far in this journey that was the most life-threatening time for me. I had so many bald patches on my hair, I had fever, I couldn't get out, and this was the first time it affected me mentally. The doctor said I have anxiety disorder. I was getting panic attacks all the time. I think this disease takes a toll on you, not just physically but mentally. And the side effects of the medicines are something that is another aspect which is as cruel as the disease. Having been on steroids for the last 9 years continuously and so many other medicines, I started having this blurry vision where I could barely see. I had reached a time where I just couldn't sit still. I was shaking all the time, and I just couldn't understand any word that people spoke, and I couldn't even express myself. I couldn't remember any words. I was just stuttering all the time whenever I spoke, and I was so sure that I would have to be admitted to a hospital soon for all my conditions. And this fear made me see the darkest side of life, which I had not imagined. My motto was always I have lupus, lupus doesn't have me. I did everything according to what I thought I could do. But there comes a time when things are not under your control and your medicines takes over you. And that's the time I think you need to seek support. And when you can't identify yourself with yourself, I've never been that disconnected from my life, and that can be very life-changing. And not everyone who have gone through that phase where you feel that your life has become so pointless and you start questioning the very existence of yourself. I think not everyone can come back to this phase of where I am right now, and I feel absolutely blessed because of that. And lupus takes a toll on you, not just mentally and physically, but also financially. The medicines that I have to take on a regular basis, which are so expensive, and and then you start questioning whether you'll be able to look after yourself your entire life at this rate of hospitalization. All these expenses can really boggle you down, and then you start feeling that you've become such a big burden, not just to yourself but to your partner, to your spouse, to your loved ones. And managing all this is it's not an easy task. I'm doing very well now, and thanks to my treatment. All these medicines, you can't expect it to work on you overnight. It takes time. So you really need to have some patience for that. Besides that, I think what has helped me in this long run and all these years is that, right now I'm taking personal time off for myself. I have taken a break from work, and I'm sure not everyone can do that, but right now, self-care and self-nurturing, taking out time for things that I love to do has really helped me. And this disease has taught me to take yoga more seriously, and I've developed some new hobbies such as gardening, and I love tending to my indoor plants. Now, we've started something called Little Bakers Weekend, where we teach baking to little ones, and it gives me this inner joy, and I just feel like one of them when I'm with them. So besides that, what has helped me a lot is spending time with my grandparents. And good communication with your partner, I think, is very critical to express and to share what you feel and to share your needs. Meditation mostly has helped me look inwards, and I feel I've become much calmer, and I think that really helps, and it has reduced my anxiety to a great extent. So the first thing when you're diagnosed with lupus, it's going to be a never-ending visits with your doctors. But then the doctors are such, they look at your symptoms and they just give you your medicines and that's it. As a patient, because we're at the stage where we're so confused and we're so lost and overwhelmed, I think if the doctors could give us more information holistically, what you should expect from this disease, not just the physical symptoms but also the mentally, and I think that would really help. And maybe whether they could recommend us to some support groups, or they would give us some extra information. For instance, especially in Nepal or in South Asia, I think, when we ask them to recommend us certain diets for lupus, they usually say you're a fine person, you don't need to restrict any types of food. But then I realized that worldwide, and when lupus patients have tried and tested so many things that could have caused them more inflammation. For example, when you take garlic, when you take alfalfa sprouts, and when you take red meat and gluten, they really aggravate your disease and they really need to be controlled. So, for patients like us, you need to have a team of doctors that consult with each other. Otherwise, you're running around like a headless chicken. You're taking all the medicines that every doctor prescribes to you, and that can lead to overdose, and that can be very dangerous at the same time. So I've learned that though we're visiting a particular doctor, we need to tell our condition, all the medications that we're taking them, and we need all the doctors to be aware of our current situation. So lupus has really transformed my life and has really changed the way I look at so many things. So I can safely say that I think lupus itself has been a very big source of inspiration for me. It has helped me to be so much more empathetic towards other people, not just with lupus, but with other conditions that were similar to mine. I've learned to be so joyful and grateful for the little things in life that I did not appreciate earlier. For example, after losing all that hair, and then my hair started growing when I went to the salon and got a blow dry, I think I was so happy, and it was a sense of euphoria for me, because I know that state where I know that feeling of losing everything that was the most dearest to you. So small things, I feel like Lupus itself has inspired me a lot, but besides them, my family, and most precisely my mom, she's a yoga teacher. When I was sick and she used to encourage me to do yoga, even if I couldn't do, she used to get up and she used to do all the yogas and all the asanas and all the pranayams, and that really inspired me, and I felt like, I used to take baby steps to be able to do that, and thinking that maybe one day I can be as committed, as dedicated as her. My father, who's a cyclist, his enthusiasm at this stage of life really inspires me, and I feel like, I'm his daughter and I'll be able to handle everything that comes to me. My grandfather, even at this late 80s, he's so fit and he has his head on his shoulders, and many people ask him, like, what is it that you eat that makes you look evergreen and that has made you so healthy? He keeps telling everyone, it's not what I eat, it's because of the things that I don't eat. So he has so much of discipline, and I think that's the reason why he's what he is today. And another person who inspires me tremendously is my grandmother. She's a ray of light, and she's a source of support and hope to me. And her tagline is, every problem has a solution, so that really helps. And like the way, especially when I was at that phase, she just manages to call me and to give me that source of my inspiration to me every day. So I think these are the things. One of the most important things, like when you feel so vulnerable and your expectations about yourself and about everyone may change. For instance, I was the one who was responsible and for the entire household and everything. And now when I was in that state where I just couldn't do things that I used to do, I used to feel so guilty. And I used to feel like, maybe I'm overburdening the other person with all the things that now I can't do. So you need to be able to manage your expectations, and that's done by being able to properly communicate with your loved ones. And the main thing is, like, the feeling of guilt may overwhelm you, and I think you should not, it'll come, you need to understand that that's very natural, and then it'll just go away. And I think being assertive is very important. You need to be able to communicate your needs and your likes and your dislikes, so that they understand and they are able to help you cope with whatever you're going through. Because of everything that you're going through, there may be times where you'll be severely frustrated with yourself, you're angry with yourself, with everyone around you, you're in so much of agony and all that. But what you need to know, that when these feelings come and when you are feeling low, but it's okay, and that's normal, and that's not something that is unique just to you, and that's something that everyone goes through. So you need to understand what you're going through, and you need to allow yourself to feel all these things rather than just denying it. But you also need to make sure that eventually, these kind of feelings, these negativity and all that thing that pulls you down, you may need to make sure that it drifts away. And for that, you have so many other mediums and tools to do that. Another thing is, like, the most important advice that I would want to give people with lupus is that the people who look after you, you need to learn to just cherish them and appreciate them, because eventually when you're sick for such a long time, you'll be able to easily recognize the ones who truly care about you. So the ones that are there for you, learn to appreciate them, because there'll just be few people who will walk with you through this entire journey. And another thing is, like, you really need to exercise a lot. I was really lazy initially, but every time I started getting sick again and again, I realized that unless your body is fit physically and you have enough oxygen being pumped into your brain, that's when you start, that's something that delays your flares. And also, since as you all know, that you're very sensitive to the sun when you have lupus, don't forget to wear sunscreen. One of the main reasons I'm here in front of you talking about this disease is also to create awareness about all the symptoms and everything about lupus. But one thing I realize is most important is that whether the glass is full or the glass is empty is just up to you, and how you take life. I mean, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, and when you accept the situation and the condition you are in, that really helps you. And this situation may not just be for people with lupus, but it can apply to anyone who are suffering some similar diseases. It's like you need to have that can-do attitude, and you need to have that positivity, and you need to cultivate this sense of gratitude for everything around you. And that really helps you, and not just you, but to all the people around you.